Hi, and welcome to this edition of FedMail. Hope you are doing well on this sunny Friday afternoon. Shabbat Shalom to you. Of course, a lot went on this week, but let's start with some of the good stuff that took place locally. There was a kosher cooking workshop from Sylvia, our local kosher caterer, who does a fantastic job for all of our community-wide events. This time she made her famous hummus. She taught the young adults how to do it. Thank you, Sylvia, and thank you to all of the young adults who came out for it. And Mindy Hall, who is the director of our young adult division, in addition to all of the outreach work that she does and the PJ Library work that she does. Mindy wears a lot of hats. So thank you, Mindy, for putting this together and for all of your great work. I also want to congratulate with big mazel tov the recipients of the Queen Esther Scholarships. Now, B'nai B'rith, Probus Club, and the Land Garden Fund get together and give out these scholarships to seniors in our area who are going to college next year. So congratulations to Abby Rosenfeld from Ashland, Matthew Janicek from Shrewsbury, and Medina Dills from Rutland. Congratulations as this year's Queen Esther Scholarship recipients. And thank you to B'nai B'rith. You guys have come through so many times for us, including providing funding for the Yom HaShoah Art and Essay Contest each year. And we appreciate you supporting our young adults and all of the good enrichment work that you've done. I also, we had a great board meeting on Tuesday night to approve the allocations, and I'm excited to talk about all of the great things that are funded locally through your support of the annual campaign, including the JCC's Film Fest and Author Series, the Hillel at Clark University and WPI, the Shlichim program, all of our religious schools, all of our congregations put in great requests, and I'm excited to see the programs that we're going to be funding throughout the year. And then, of course, there's funding that goes to Jewish communities around the world through the Jewish Agency for Israel, World Ort, which provides vital education services in communities far and wide, and the Joint Distribution Committee, which is really a life-saving outfit that helps to make sure that Jews, wherever they are, have what they need. There's also there's also funding for a scholarship through FIDF that helps provide an educational resources for an Israeli soldier who is coming from a disadvantaged background to get a good education, and that's in memory of Danny Baker. We also have some programming that we provide or some funding we provide for food insecurity around the world. In Afula, a Shabbaton for women and their children in Jerusalem through Hadassah. There's just a lot of really cool stuff, and I'm excited by it. I'm really thankful and grateful for your support that makes all of this possible, and thank you to our wonderful Jewish Federation Board. Then on Wednesday, we had the ADL Director and Deputy Director from ADL New England visiting our community to talk about anti-Semitism and the work that we do as partners. That was a special program for some of our major donors and leaders in the community. Great to see that. Jewish Healthcare Center had their annual meeting on Wednesday night. I talked a little bit about what was going on in Israel, and that felt to me like trying to explain the Torah while standing on one foot at about 5 minutes, and I probably went over, so sorry about that to any of you who were there who thought that I talked a little too long. And then on Thursday, we bid farewell, Lahit wrote, to Mayan, our shlichah, who headed back to Israel. Her flight had been delayed a little while waiting for things to clear up in the region. Ben Gurion is open now for her to return home, and we look forward to seeing her over on our visits to Israel. And when she comes back, we also are looking forward to welcoming our summer shlichim who will be working at the JCC summer camp. So all of that taking place. Also this week, a lot of eyes were on the New York City Democratic primary. The winner, Mamdani, there was a lot of concern from Jewish communities and Jewish community members over what appeared to be a defense of the term globalize the Intifada, some rap lyrics related to the Holy Land Five, which were charity leaders who had been arrested for supporting Hamas, and some reluctance to acknowledge Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state, and the fact that Mamdani had been the creator of the Students for Justice in Palestine chapter at his university, Bowdoin, actually, up in Maine. So there was a lot of focus on this, a lot of concern about it. A lot has been written about it, and a lot has been said about it. So we'll keep our eyes out for the election coming up in just a few months, actually, for the mayor of New York City. And of course, with the large Jewish community there, no doubt that some of these points will be written up about. I know that I'm not certainly not the first to talk about it. And this is what people are saying today. So we'll see. In Israel, okay, so as things quieted down and wound down as it related to this flare-up with Iran, the strike on Iran, there were some polls that came out indicating that if an election were to be held today, doesn't look like things would change all that much. Actually, it looked like Netanyahu might perhaps lose a few seats. So that was interesting to note. The opposition, it looked like, would have enough seats to form a government, but those polls are sometimes right, sometimes wrong. It's difficult to make heads or tails of them. Yes, as announced, the operation against Iran wound down. There's a ceasefire in effect now. The numbers looked pretty staggering. About 550 ballistic missiles were fired by Iran into Israel with about 1,000 drones. There were something like 50 hits, 50 strikes where the missiles came down. 28 people lost their lives in and around Israel, in Israel, I should say. The hospital, of course, in Beersheba took a direct hit. There were a few apartment buildings. Haifa had an oil refinery hit, so it did cause pretty extensive damage across the country. There's still intelligence gathering as to the impact and effect of both Israel and the United States strike on the Iranian nuclear facilities. Now, everyone by now knows that the sites were buried deep underground. There was also some imagery of some trucks that may have taken out enriched uranium. There were conflicting reports earlier in the week. Now it looks like there's some consensus that the uranium remains buried underground, but tough to say. It looks like the upper echelon of both Iran's military and nuclear programs were eliminated in these strikes. There was a really in-depth write-up about Israel's operation to get all of these generals to gather together at one point, just as the strikes were beginning, and they were taken out, which kept Iran from being able to launch an effective counterattack or reprisal. And then, of course, there was the subterfuge that the United States was able to pull off with having the planes flying both east and west. It was a 36-hour mission, so that was interesting too, and that caused a lot of concern in the United States. There were a lot of local voices condemning President Trump's actions, saying he should have gotten approval from Congress first, which was the ideal situation there. Richie Torres wrote a pretty strong statement on it, saying that, while we would all prefer to see Congress have these approvals as drafted, by the framers of the Constitution, I guess, there's certainly a precedent whereby presidents have acted unilaterally in recent years. But nonetheless, it is important. It's an important conversation to have, and it's certainly necessary and important when we're talking about the implications for these major actions taken by the executive branch to make sure that it's done right and done in a way that ensures that the people of the United States are protected and safe. And I have a feeling that this will be a continuing conversation at the national level as things proceed. But there was great concern that there would be widespread reprisal attacks and that we could be entering World War III. I know that I saw that on a lot of different Twitter feeds from senators, congressmen, analysts, a lot of concern about it. As of now, thank God, things are quiet, and we hope that they will remain quiet. It's also important to note that there's concern that soft targets could be hit around the world, and I know that the FBI and other intelligence and law enforcement officers and offices are deeply concerned about it, and all of us share in that concern. Also in Israel, the negotiations for the hostages are now continuing with Egypt as the broker. They're talking about meeting in Sharm el-Sheikh, and some optimistic reports say that within 2 weeks, the war in Gaza could wind down and we could see the return of the hostages. Wouldn't that be incredible? But still more to be seen there. And again, continued observation, surveillance as it relates to Iran, and what the actual effect and impact of those strikes will be. And we'll all be keeping our eye on that. And hopefully we'll have a quiet week of news ahead, God willing. And again, we'll be able to focus on all of the good things that happen locally. So thank you again. Take care. Have a great weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.